Hey guys, welcome back. New background,
Oh yeah.
kind of. This is my house. We're filming at my house today. So we put out a call asking for you guys to send in your paranormal stories. And we got a bunch, actually. I got several messages. But the one I'm going to do today stood out to me. It was definitely the longest of all the stories. And I just thought that it needed its own video. And Hannah hasn't heard it yet. So she's going to react in real time with you guys as I read it. Because it's a doozy. It's a doozy. The person that sent it asked to stay anonymous, so we're going to respect that. But I'm going to go ahead and just start reading it because, like I said, it's a long one, and we'll kind of react as we do it. The end, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, just like updates and stuff that she had sent. Mm-hmm. I'll read the main story and then kind of paraphrase the updates after that. Okay, so it says, can humans be haunted? I'll let your audience decide. Hi, Paige. I was intrigued by your recent Facebook post and wanted to share my personal experience. This may be a longer one, so I apologize in advance. I think your audience would be interested to know my family purchased your old house when you guys lived in DeSoto, Missouri, and I wanted to share what happened after you guys left. So the house she's talking to, we were there for like maybe a year. We were renovating the house. It was a haunted house, but nothing crazy ever happened.
So it
to
has
my
some
family.
personal ties then.
So this is why I picked this. It's from my hometown when I was little. Yeah. So for context prior to this, my family lived in a town about 30 minutes north of there called Arnold, which is actually where I moved. That's where my last place I lived was Arnold. So it was, and that house too was haunted. It was a little 2-bedroom farmhouse on 15 acres of land. What looked like a charming farmhouse turned into a hellscape overnight. My family, within 5 months of fully moving into it, now this is not my home, this is the other one. Moving into that home after renovations being complete turned into massive poltergeist activity. Our realtor told us when we were buying the property originally that someone had died, but we didn't know to what extent or context or how, because typically they have to disclose this on the closing arrangements. My mom and dad evidently ignored the massive occult drawings in the basement, which was old limestone foundations. Oh. If you know anything about limestone, supposedly it makes dwellings more haunted. I don't know if this is true, but it surely seems it made our location very active, as well as the one in the DeSoto house. That I can confirm. Evil posters hanging from what would be my bedroom, etc., but they were determined to make this the forever home because it had so much potential. Since we didn't know originally what was happening with activity because we lived in a camper on the property for months prior and had spent little to no time in the house unless the renovations were being made. Once we got in, nothing seemed amiss until one random Saturday afternoon when a random lady showed up at the house. My mom sent me upstairs and I didn't think twice on it. I later found out, like years later, this lady was the daughter of the original owner of the house who had died. She evidently warned my mom that her brother was delving into the occult at the time and had opened a portal in the basement. It released some demonic energies into the home and it caused her mom to go clinically ill, and she committed suicide in what would eventually turn into my parents' bedroom.
Oh my goodness.
She had rolled herself up in a carpet and used her weapon. Her daughter came home and found a note on the door that said, "I'm sorry if you see this, but I am no longer alive. Do not go inside. Call 911.
Oh my God.
After she left, it's as if the house completely woke up. I started having a little girl coming out of my closet to play with me at night. An old woman would pull out my desk chair at night and knit in it. Like physically, I would wake up and the chair would be pulled out and pointed at me, and it always happened every night after I went to sleep. Eventually, I would see shadow people bouncing a ball outside, soldiers on our staircase. It was literal hell for me. I couldn't sleep. It felt like we were suffocated without there being people there. This is when I started noticing my dad started the abuse and picking up energetically more and more. He became physically violent and paranoid. Eventually, there was enough activity happening that my mom called out a paranormal investigative team and a psychic medium to investigate the house. Holy hell, these people left early that night. While we went to our grandparents' house, the team did a lot of what you would see on a typical ghost show like Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters, etc. And sure as hell, it was not only haunted but there was multiple portals in the house and on the property. After going to the historical society, we later came to find out that the little girl in my closet was a little girl who died on the railroad tracks behind our home. Her shoe had gotten caught and a train hit her, and she was only 7 years old when she died. The boy with the ball had died of scarlet fever in the late 1800s. Evidently, the property started as a trading post for settlers going out west, doing a lot of fur trading. And according to the psychic, there were 3 unmarked cemeteries in various parts of the property, which we were able to confirm later. The old woman was actually my great-grandma that I was able to confirm through an old family album. They went in, set up multiple cameras on tripods, and the whole house had orbs everywhere. When they went to copy the tape and give it to my parents, the investigators had issues because the tape itself physically refused to copy. Keep in mind, this is 2003 with the camcorders, so think VHS tapes. There's a lot. So there's a lot I'm probably forgetting, but this time period was massively traumatizing for me that I remember bits and pieces. I was also pretty young. So insert your house into the chat.
Oh,
Okay.
my God.
So it says, my family was losing our Arnold house to foreclosure, and they were able to somehow qualify to buy your house. I don't know how. But I just remember my parents one day driving us to that house, and I went, oh, holy shit, this place is creepy. It was creepy. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But it was like it was creepy. But it was, yeah. It was creepy.
It's my cup of tea.
It was, yes, it was, but I could see it. Was, yeah. It was daunting, but I automatically sensed something wasn't right. But I knew it had similar to vibes to what we had been dealing with. So this house, it was one of the first built in DeSoto. Oh, and that's true, it was. I remember us learning that. Supposedly, it was built on native territory in the early 1800s by a wealthy businessman who was evidently a massive alcoholic, and that is also true. I know it was born on native, or that it was made on native land. We knew that too.
So much negative energy from both places.
Yeah. The house supposedly had a third story at one point with a full ballroom and servant quarters, which is why there were staircases that led to nowhere. Also true, and actually the access to the ballroom was in my room when I was a kid. And it still had like the checkered floors and everything in it. Yeah, this place was,
That's nice.
It was wild, yeah. When the house was first built, this man had a son that was 4 at the time, and the servants told the boy to not run up and down the stairs because they had freshly waxed the floors that day, and evidently he didn't listen, and he slipped down the stairs and broke his neck on the second landing. We later realized one of the stairs was shorter than the rest. I don't know if that's from something that you guys did or renovations, or if maybe it was just there to clean up the job. Not sure. Maybe it's not related. It was nothing my family did. We didn't do anything to the stairs.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so there was a little girl who had died a couple of years later who got too close to the fireplace that was originally in the living room, and her dress caught on fire. Evidently, she burned to death in the house. His wife subsequently died from childbirth in what was the cotton candy room, and he lost not only her but their unborn child. The cotton candy room was mine. It was the walls were cotton candy pink.
Girl, the energy.
But yeah, and I did know that someone had died during childbirth in the house. I did know that. I didn't know about the other two, but I did know that someone had died during childbirth there. And yeah, the cotton candy room was me. And that room was, yeah.
Oh.
This caused him to go to the green room 2 years later, where he hung himself by a belt and was found in the closet. So that's just the first couple of years. Evidently, in whatever that ballroom was, there was a fire. So I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but I remember being told that there was a fire destroying the 3rd floor. I can't confirm or deny that. Eventually, the home was purchased out, where this became a funeral home, and apparently my parents' room is where they did the viewings. Isn't that cute? The basement is where they prep the bodies. So, which is, I did know this too. Like,
can I just say, whoever sent this is a trooper.
Yeah, and like some
Isn't that cute?
I know. Well, and I'm like, but this is true though, and like the basement still had like the tables and stuff in it, like shelving and stuff for, yeah, it was, yeah.
Wild.
Which is why there were so many drains in the basement, and why there was a weird shape to it, and that is, yeah, that's, I remember like as a kid I was like, I'm not going down there. And I wasn't like afraid of basements or anything. Like it wasn't something that was
It was like, bad energy, no thanks.
So the home was used as a funeral home for several years, where then enter Floyd Wilson in the chat, 1900s. Floyd was paranoid as hell. She lived in and out of the home for lengthy periods of time, but was paranoid by the activity that would occur in the house, so she often slept in her car with her cats. Me. Floyd was an accountant, or did something with money for the city, from what I remember, so she was well off and did good for herself, but she was terrified of the house. So clearly there's issues in the owners of her own house wouldn't even sleep in it, you know.
Yeah.
Fast forward to crook con man named Dean. Dean screwed us out of this house. So she who bought the house off of her at one point. I don't remember the logistics. I just remember being told he was a massive con artist and somehow got the house from her. Then you guys, then us. And yes, he literally did a rent to own from us, stole our money and moved to Mexico. So
on the money you gave him?
Yeah, and then sold the house and moved to Mexico, and we had 30 days to evacuate.
Okay,
yeah.
There's a long line of curse.
Oh yeah. It says what's interesting is after my mom got pushed out. Oh wait, what? Okay, apparently her mom. Okay. It says what's interesting is after my mom got pushed down the stairs, she started seeing more of the demonic activity. I don't know if she meant to put that but her mom got pushed down the stairs. It went from being constant shadow figures to ending up being a lot worse than that. I started regularly seeing cloaked entities that were black and red on a regular basis. They were always hooded figures, and I never saw their faces, but they were all over the house. They got to the point where they started following me to school, and I was seeing them everywhere. My dad was becoming increasingly paranoid, even more than what I was dealing with at the time when we were at the other house, and he started possessively collecting guns because he was constantly concerned that the government was going to take him. Every time we would start renovating the house, the activity increased, and as a result, it seems like the house was constantly lashing out on us. Fast forward to 2008, we had what I deemed our come to Jesus moment. He also became super obsessed with the Bible and religion in general. Later on, I remember physically feeling super ill this day, and we were just coming back from a swimming at some family friend's house, and I walked into our foyer area, and to my surprise, I saw 7 demons, all dressed in red, standing on what she calls demons. I can't confirm or deny. Standing on the staircase, staring at us. And what's insane was I was the only one who saw it. My mom couldn't see anything, and neither did my dad or brother. But they definitely felt whatever I was seeing because my mom said that she got physically ill after that. They told me that if we didn't leave, that they were going to kill us. I was panicking and freaking out because my mom had enough at this point. We were dealing with constant activity with the doors slamming, lights turning on and off, but it was physically harming now. My brother, my sister, and I all of the time. My dad didn't want to leave the house. He thought we were crazy, but I ran upstairs and immediately started packing a suitcase. And I said, if you guys don't take me, I'm calling my grandparents to essentially come pick us up because I couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. I was depressed. I was getting really bad. So finally, without saying another word for my parents, my parents and I are all packed up our stuff and we left to go stay with my grandparents for a few days. It was hard to explain to my grandparents the fact that we had demons essentially threatened to harm us and that he had to leave all he knew is that we were scared, panicked, and frightened. My parents were in the guest room, and my brother and I were in the toy room. It was late at night when I saw one of the demons was with us at my grandparents' house. Now, prior to this experience, my dad had always been had a Catholic upbringing, but was very atheist, so he had been skeptical up until this point. But then he started seeing what I was seeing. And I remember we prayed the Lord's Prayer that night, and only could figure between him and my mom and I, it had to have been God. We felt immense peace for the first time in a long time. My dad deemed it the second chance, and we would live here permanently. The difference between the Arnold house and the DeSoto house was that we bought time in the DeSoto house by staying in the farmhouse just until we replaced all the electrical wiring. The wiring was all copper wiring. This house also had a limestone foundation, and this basement gave me the creeps. We were warned by the Historical Society that evidently a lady who lived in the home was a hoarder, and they weren't wrong because the attic and garage were filled to the ceiling with old clothes and newspapers and tons of junk. And that's after we cleaned out the entire main floor of the newspapers and junk when we had it. Because, definitely.
Not her dad becoming super religious and her feeling like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah. So then after this, after they're like saying, that they were going to, the religion and everything, the first night back in the house that she was alone, it said she was watching a movie and heard a huge thud coming from that green room on the second floor all the way on the left. That was my sister's room. And I panicked thinking someone had broke in. I kept hearing thuds and footsteps shuffling around. And once I got the balls to basically open the door, my brother's room had been entirely trashed. I saw a chapter book floating in the air. And once I saw it, the book stayed floating for about 5 seconds before abruptly dropping to the floor. I looked around and the whole room had every drawer open. All the bedding was stripped off my brother's bunk bed. And all his toys were in a straight line. And his clothes were thrown out of the drawers. I was terrified. It was physically happening. At least at the other house, it was just door slamming and a lot of apparitions. This was physical poltergeist or demonic in nature, and I freaked out. I didn't have a cell phone, and neither did my parents at the time, so I had to wait until they came home. I cleaned up the mess and explained what had happened to them, but my dad told me that I was just trying everything to go back to the other house, and it can't happen. He physically said I was just lying, and it drove me insane because he was already abusive at the other house, and it seemed to be getting worse. Over the course of the first year at the house, we would do gradual renovation projects, and every time we either cleaned out the attic or started construction activity would amp back up. I was being physically attacked with scratches and waking up with bruises. We couldn't sleep with the hall bath light off because we would constantly deal with shadow people. Eventually, we started seeing hooded entities, both my mom and I. There was a lady in white that would float around on the stairs, and a little boy who couldn't have been more than 5 who hung out on the second landing. For context, there was a huge staircase in the house that wrapped up and had 2 landings. It was big. It was like a grand staircase. My mom was growing increasingly concerned with the scratches on us until one day, an entity pushed her down the stairs and she sprained her ankle after wearing an old fur coat that they had found in the attic. Eventually, my mom started doing research and called in other investigators and multiple researchers. This is where you are going to get intrigued. I tried, and then so that was the story. And she says she goes on, she tries to factor as an adult. She tries to rationalize and say that she wanted to understand it, and she, thought maybe there was mold in the house, or there, and her father did have underlying mental disorders and things like that, but she said after she moved out of the house she no longer saw the entities, after being removed from the situation. She's still sensitive to energy. She still feels things, but she no longer can see them. But she's wondering if she didn't just shut the gift off because it scares her.
Yeah.
There was lead paint in the house in one of them, but not in the other. But she says that, you know, there are things that could have factored, but ultimately she does believe that paranormal activity was the main cause of this. And she goes on to tell me that she believes that her dad was possessed, and it eventually got so bad that he tried to off himself and her mom, and he is still in prison to this day from that. He's been diagnosed with BPD since being in prison, but she said that she really does believe that it was an attachment to her dad. She also believes that she has an attachment to her. Says in here that her neighbor, since she's moved out, she feels like she's had bad luck, and she's been has experienced bad mental health symptoms, and that she's been assaulted by her neighbor and all these things, and she's getting ready to move like across the country, and just like coming up really soon, and said that she's in contact with a shaman where she is, and said that the shaman is planning on going pretty in depth with her. So that is,
and that's a
really
smart
good
move.
But yeah, she said she's had near-death experiences, a cancer scare, car wrecks. Like she said, it's been like one thing after another of bad luck. So she's planning on linking up with the shaman when she moves across country. So, and she's already found him. She's already found them. She's moving in a couple weeks. So, yeah, that is. She said that, you know, as a kid she got really she was like obsessed with going to church, and she thought that it would you know, make the things go away, and she was like at every service, and she, you know, and she said any way she could get away from the house, she would be at church, and she got really into Bible study and everything.
I would be too.
Oh yeah, and I mean, if you think that that's gonna help you, like, which I mean, it could, like, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying, like, if that's like whatever you latch onto that you're like, this is gonna help me, you're gonna like try to do whatever you can to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and be away from the house.
Oh my god.
So she says she's gonna update me when she gets settled in to her new house and how she's going and everything. And she ends up by saying, in the Bible there's tons of areas where they talk about demons, and it really makes me wonder if a demonic force is truly what caused my issues. So terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
All of the love,
absolutely
of the
terrifying.
peace.
But yeah, I mean, and it's so surreal, like, picturing it, because I'm like, I lived in that house, and I can picture like every bit of what she's talking about and stuff. And I do remember some of the things that had happened. I grew up in the town with her, so I do remember when her dad, you know, and I remember these things, but I didn't know it had a connection to the paranormal at the time, because I didn't, you know, we weren't like, I just remember
I'm just
hearing
like, I want to hug you.
Yeah, and so I was like, this needs its own video.
Absolutely.
And honestly, like, you're stronger than I like to make it out. I mean,
yeah, you are so strong, sending all the love and positive energy and good vibes and peace your way, because you deserve it.
Yes. Yeah, she told me that it, you know, it definitely brought up some PTSD typing out the story, and that was like, so yeah, scary
I just
stuff.
Want to hug you.
But she made it through. She made it through, and I love that for her. And I really hope that connecting to the shaman or whatever she needs to do, you need to do, can rid you of what you feel is your bad connection or your bad luck or whatever you have. And I wish nothing but the best for you and your new adventure. And I can't wait to hear how you're getting settled in. So with that, that's crazy, right? Like, wild. So next week we are going to be reading more of your paranormal stories. They're shorter. I got several that I'm just gonna do quick. We can read back and forth and do quick succession. Some of them are cute, some of them are creepy. They're all good. So yeah, next week we'll be doing that. I don't know if the background will be this one or Curio. It depends on what life is wild. And life is wild, so we might just have to film where we can film.
I'm currently moving.
Yes. So, and my mom and dad are currently moving. So so yeah, bear with us. But thanks for tuning in. And if you have a paranormal story, feel free to let us know in the comments or message us at the Curio on Facebook or the Curio of Odd Things on Insta, and we will check it out. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.